Hello and welcome to my new Learning Redstone series. Here I will try to explain how redstone works for beginners. We will start very slow and chill so everyone can understand it, and I will simplify some stuff here and there, again for better understanding, if you are new to redstone. In this first episode we talk about redstone dust, where to get it and how does it work. So without further ado, let's get started. Redstone dust can be obtained from three different sources. The first one is the redstone ore. It can be found in the overworld between Y level 16 and -64. The deeper you dig down, the more redstone ore you will find. There are two versions of the redstone ore that you can see here, the stone version and the deep slate version. Both yield the same amount of redstone dust when mined. The only difference is that it takes a bit longer to mine the deep slate version. To get redstone dust out of the ores, you need at least an iron pickaxe. When you start mining redstone ore or touch it by clicking it or walking over it, it will start to glow slightly and gives out these particles. Redstone ore gives 4 to 5 redstone dust when mined with an unenchanted pickaxe. The amount is affected by the fortune enchantment. With fortune 3, one ore can drop up to 8 redstone dust. You will also get a slight amount of XP when the ore is mined. When you use a pickaxe below the iron one, the redstone ore will simply disappear when mined. The wooden, the stone and gold pickaxes are considered lower than the iron one. Diamond and netherite are above the iron one and will also work just fine for redstone ore. Here you can see that we get nothing when we mine redstone ore within gold pickaxe, while we get 4 to 5 redstone dust and XP when we mine it with the iron pickaxe. It is possible to smelt redstone ore in a furnace, but it doesn't make a lot of sense to do it, and here is why. After you took your time and resources to wait for the furnace to smelt the redstone ore, you get only a single piece of dust out of it, while you would get 4 to 5 when you simply mined it. So you can do it, but it wastes fuel and time to get even less out of it. It's a no-no. The second source of redstone dust are villagers. A villager with a brewing stand as workstation will become a cleric. Clerics always have the trait 1 emerald for 2 redstone dust as one of their first traits. So when you happen to find a village or already have a trading hall, this can be a pretty safe source for your redstone needs. The third and final source for redstone dust are witches. They have a 12.5% chance to drop redstone dust. This is the go-to source when you need huge amounts of redstone, since it is possible to make a farm for witches. However, this video aims mostly for beginners, so I would recommend mining for the early to mid game and later rely on villagers. But if you are up for making a witch farm, go for it. So much for the ways to get redstone dust. So how does it work? With this lever, I can give a signal to the redstone dust placed next to it. You can think of redstone dust as a wire, and when it's powered you can do different things in Minecraft. For now we want to look at the redstone dust a little bit. As you can see, the texture of the dust is now brighter where it's powered and slowly gets less bright until it finally gets back to its normal texture. This indicates the power levels the redstone dust has at the moment. It can only go from 15 down to 0. When you hit the F3 button, you can see the current power level of the dust on the right hand side. If you watch now the power level, you can see it goes down by 1 for every block we go further away from the power source, which is in our case the lever. It goes all the way down to 0, which means this redstone dust is no longer powered. When the redstone is active, you can also see these particles coming off of it, like the ore did when we touched it. Since version 1.16, we can choose if a single bit of redstone dust should appear as a cross or as a dot. To change it, just right-click on it. They both can be powered, but the dot will only powering things below it, while the cross will also power adjacent blocks. Redstone dust will always try to connect to other dust next to it. That way you can send a signal to various directions at the same time. Here you can see the redstone connects in every direction and forms curves and crosses by itself. When we now look at the power levels again, you can see that from the dust we activate, the power level decreases in every direction by 1. That means when we use either one of the levers on the sides, the lowest power level will be 11. While when we use the one in the middle here, the lowest power level will be 12, since the signal has less blocks to travel to the corners here. Because redstone dust connects when it's next to other dust, we can make any pattern we want. For example, this one. When we activate the redstone now, every bit of redstone dust will be powered since it's all connected. But at the end of each line we have an individual power level because the distance of the power source varies. Some side notes about the redstone dust once it's placed on a block in your world. Place down redstone dust takes the room of a normal placed block. That means when you try to place down a block on top of it, you place the block simply above it. You can even use this when you aim a little bit at the hitbox of the redstone dust to place the blocks on the sides of it. Redstone dust, as well as most of the other redstone components, get flushed away by water. So when you make a redstone contraption, keep in mind that water and redstone don't get too well along. Let's talk about the way redstone dust connects upwards and downwards. As you can see here, it connects to an adjacent block even when it's one block higher. That way we can bring up the signal or down. When we place redstone dust, the texture will appear at the side of the block, indicating the line is connected. The power level will also behave the same way it does on a plane surface. It goes down by 1 for every block distance. And of course, this works both ways, up and down. If you don't want that the redstone connects all the way up, you can use a solid block to interrupt the connection of the line. That way the signal goes only as far as you want. This also works in both directions. We differentiate between solid blocks and transparent blocks. Solid blocks are pretty much all your normal building blocks, while transparent blocks are, for example, glass, or the blocks that are not full blocks like slabs. Here you can see that a glass block won't cut the redstone line and the power can still go up and down. So what happens if we just build a tower like this? Will this work? For solid blocks the answer is no, it won't work, neither up nor down. And yes, the dust above here can get powered by the lever above it. So what about transparent blocks? Well, this works, but just in one way. On transparent blocks stacked like this, the signal can only go up but not down. This can be useful for some contraptions. So now let's have a look on what gets powered by the dust. For that I'm using redstone lamps here because it's pretty easy to see what gets powered and what not. First, a normal line of redstone dust. The block where the redstone is on gets powered, but also the adjacent blocks of the powered block. But none of the surrounding blocks of the redstone dust to the sides or above it get powered. When the redstone line is going directly into a block, it powers the block it's facing into, but also all of the adjacent blocks to each side, even the block behind it. And finally, a redstone line that just ends at some point. It will also power the block at the end here, since all of the adjacent blocks from the block where the redstone dust is on top get powered. Now you know the very basic behavior from the redstone dust itself. As I said, I'm gonna take this series very slow and start really from scratch. This is for real beginners, but we will go way deeper into it along the series. So if you want to learn to make somewhat complex contraptions yourself one day, just keep following this series and you will get there. In the next episode I'm gonna show you all the different power sources, what they do and how they work. With that, I'm gonna end this episode. Thank you very much for watching, leave a like if you did and maybe consider subscribing. You can also follow me on Twitter to know what I'm up to next, link in the video description. Until next time, bye bye!